Wednesday, June 11th, right in the middle of the heart of the sports summer, and there are championships to be won. Some might be won in the United States. Some might be won north of the border, but championships are all around us, and all three of us are back in the saddle again. I'm not going to sing any more of it. TJ, welcome back, my brother. How are you?
Well, you know, I show up, you pay me. Or
True.
Maybe it's the other way around.
Let's
I
not
pay
beat
you
around
and you show up.
Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, facts are facts there. Vegas Mac, I haven't talked to you since what was that, Monday? I don't even now I'm in here. I don't know what day of the week it is now.
I don't either. That's what summer vacation does to you. Every day just becomes a day. It's the greatest thing ever.
Have either one of you been contacted by the New York Knicks for their vacant head coaching job? Because you guys might be the only two that haven't said no to them right now.
Well, I mean, can they not come up with their own coach? I mean, you have to go knocking on everybody's door. I mean,
it's the New York Knicks. I mean, everybody wants the job. Jason Kidd, no, he doesn't want the job. Yeah, Chris Fitch, no, he doesn't want the job. Vegas Mac, I mean, Vegas Mac might be the fit for the New York Knicks.
No, I nominate Spike Lee.
He's busy. Very, very busy. Do you have a nomination for the coach of the New York Knicks? Share it with us. Feel free to comment along. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Shut Up, at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat. TJ, would you like to tell the people out there why we are not on Snapchat?
Because Snapchat sucks and we're not 12.
There we go. There we go. Plenty of stuff going on in the sports world. Now I am going to go right back to you, TJ, because you were in the building the other night with plenty of sections available at the Big Halo for the catch of all time in Major League Baseball history by Denzel Clark. Explain to people your viewpoint and how much you think it was the greatest catch we've ever seen in baseball.
So I was in the terrace level, so right above the first level, and I was parallel to where he was playing in center field, and where a little bit to the right of where he ended up catching the ball. So I had a great view. He had a great jump on it. I thought the ball was out, and obviously it wasn't. So it was a great catch. I mean, that's the second time in a couple of days at the time that he'd done something kind of crazy. So, you know, it was a great catch, but can we stop with the superlatives here? By the way, Mike Trout did it first in that stadium in the exact same spot just a few years ago. But can we stop with this? Everything is the greatest ever, because yes, it was a great catch. By the way, this guy couldn't hit his weight. So from an offensive standpoint, there's a lot of work to be done by good old Denzel. From a defensive standpoint, I think he has the game. But later on in the game, he, on a routine play on a base hit in center field, he kicked the ball, allowing an extra base for the Angels. So, I mean, there's that.
Mac, you're the senior citizen of the show. The greatest catch you've ever seen.
We were talking about this a little bit. I like the Coco Crisp catch. I think we're saying against David Wright. That's one of my favorite. But I mean,
not what you had for breakfast. The greatest catch you've ever seen.
Hey, but listen, if I have to go all-time best catch I've ever seen, I'm going to hang it on the old number 19 for the Boston Red Sox, and a catch that he made in center field, and that'd be Fred Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
At a game that I actually was at. So I think Fred Lynn, for me, best center fielder I ever saw.
Can I find highlights of that game in color or black and white?
Sketched on a stone.
If you guys haven't figured it out today, I am in a mood. I'm in a mood because the Knicks haven't called me to take their head coaching job, probably because they know I would only take it contingent on trading Karl Anthony Towns because I want guys that can spell the word defense. We got plenty to talk about in the sports world. And I wanted to ask you guys before we got going, I'll start in the center with Vegas Mac here. Mac, best part of the sports summer for you, what is it?
So this is going to kind of, I think, shock both of you. But when I was growing up, one of the best things to do was on a weekend night is go to the local races. And that's just been one of the things that I've always enjoyed, whether it was in Thompson, Connecticut, or up and down in New England. I got to work with Ken Squire up in Vermont at Thunder Road. And then I'm excited because this Friday, we're going to go in town and watch the races in town on Friday night. And so for me, summer is going to the local racetracks and just watching these guys race around. It's so much fun. It's not NASCAR. It doesn't have to be. It can be dirt tracks and whatnot. But for me, that spells summertime.
Tejota, best part of the summer,
man,
sports part of the summer.
The part that I like, I just did it the other night. You know, my buddy calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to go to the yard tonight?" Sure, let's go. And you know, get some cheapies and just get in there because you never know what you're going to see on any given night. So that's my favorite part.
Mine is it's for me. It's like this time right now. We've got the U.S. Open that starts at the ass crack of dawn for us on the left coast here. 3 o'clock, I will be awake watching coverage tomorrow. But then we've got Stanley Cup. We've got the NBA Finals. We've got Major League Baseball kind of hitting that point where we start to see movements and trades. We'll get to some of that stuff here in a little bit. You know, there's so many things going on right now. And then every now and then the NFL gives us a gem, as we talked about last Friday, Mac, with Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. You know, we're still
congratulations to Aaron and his new wife too.
Yeah, oh my God.
Has anybody?
Dude got married, and it turned into like the top thing I saw on a certain sports website. I'm like,
maybe she'll be the coach of the Knicks.
Easy. Jordan Hudson might be interviewing as we speak right now. All right, let's get into the NBA Finals. Game number 3 tonight at the Field House in Indianapolis. And I caught a little bit of Pat McAfee's show this morning. They were outside the Field House at the, I think it's the Bicentennial Plaza out there. Dude, that city is an absolute vibe right now. And I mean, it goes without saying. It's been 25 years since they've seen an NBA Finals game, over 9,000 days since the Pacers have hosted a finals game, and the energy and everything's down there was electric. And we're sitting here knotted at 1, headed into a game 3 in a series that the Pacers have only led for 1 minute and 53 seconds. As we sit here on the anniversary 28 years ago to this day, some guy went for 37-5 after eating some bad pizza, and a 90-88 win. Michael Jordan's flu game was tonight. Now we've heard that Tyrese Halliburton has a little bit of an ankle injury that he's playing through at this time of the year. Guys, you know this. Everybody's playing through something. I think that place is going to be an absolute freaking scene tonight when we get in there. TJ, I'll start it on your side from a betting standpoint here. I'm going to throw a couple things right at you right away. Oklahoma City is a road favorite in this current postseason, is 0-7 against the spread. Indiana hasn't won a game 3 this entire postseason, but they are 4-0 following losses in this playoffs, and they are 8-0 dating back to March 10th following a loss. What do you think from a betting standpoint? Do those numbers entice you to either side of the line today?
They actually do. They entice me over to the Indiana side. I'm willing to give them a slight nod because they're at home, and you know that Hallie's going to go. It's just a matter of taping that thing up or giving him a shot and having him go. Plus, he gets a couple of days off before he has to go again. But yeah, that line that I saw, 5.5, I think I saw most recently. That's a little bit high for me. If I was to go on the Oklahoma City side, I would like to see. To get me to go to the Thunder, that would have to drop down to about 3.5, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think 5.5 is a little too much. So that would, just looking at that and you giving me those numbers, puts me on yes, sirs.
Mac, interesting thing. We've talked about this series a lot over the last couple of weeks, and the different trends and the different things we've seen. We've been texting back and forth during the games, kind of watching them in sync with each other. And this is something that's kind of interesting to me. And you asked me a question on Monday, what I thought was more important for the Pacers here. The Pacers have 23 points in transition in the 2 games combined. Their average for the season is 32 points per game in transition. So back to the question that you asked me on Monday, I'm going to double down on the fact that I think the Pacers have to get into the paint. And the easiest way to get into the paint is rebound that sumbitch, throw it down the floor, and get your ass moving. Something that TJ, as part of my former coaching staff, is very familiar with. Get that ball in, get it moving, play off the home crowd tonight. What do you think, at least initially looking at this? Obviously you shared your thoughts this morning. For the people that didn't see it, maybe go back to that and kind of reiterate your point on today's game.
I was looking at a couple of things, guys. One of the things that I think Indiana may help them is they've got to take advantage when SGA is on the bench. I think that's kind of one of the things that I'd like to see them do. I looked it up on the season. When he's on the floor, they were plus 16. When he's on the bench, they're still a plus. It's a plus 5. But I think if I'm trying to take it from an Indiana standpoint, where they can probably make that run or try to make that run is when SGA is on the bench. And again, use the depth that they have, or maybe not use their depth. I think that's one of the questions. Maybe Indiana needs to not use their depth. Maybe they need to kind of go like the Knicks and play their starters a little more, especially through that. But that's one of the things I'd like to see them do, is to take advantage of that time when he's on the bench.
You're trying to bait me into antagonizing the Knicks fans, and I've done that enough this postseason. Let them sit off to the side and watch this. But, I mentioned the other day, one of the things I took a lot of shrapnel on our X account for at Mike Arana Show, was I made a comment on one of the posts that this Indy team, don't sell them short from a defensive standpoint. They can defend the Thunder. And you saw that especially down the stretch in game number 1. When they've been able to force Oklahoma City to run a set offense or as much of a set offense as they have, and get them down into the lower parts of the shot clock, that works immensely to their advantage. So I think Indy, and I think it's natural especially in the NBA, in front of a really good home environment. Seattle used to have one of the best home environments. Bring the damn Sonics back already. The Warriors, when they were at Oracle Arena, we know about the Paycom Center, and the field house is just as much the same. I mean, that place is going to rock tonight. And I think for me, where that gives you the most juice is on a defensive side of the floor, TJ. And I think if we can see Indy push Oklahoma City down into the lower part of the shot clock, into that 10 and lower range, I think that bodes well for a Pacers victory tonight.
Oh, you're 100% right. I mean, once you get into that lower end of the shot clock, and yeah, we see a lot of isolation plays where it's just, we're going to dribble the piss out of the basketball and throw up a shot at 4. But, for a team like Oklahoma City, who they got it, you got to move around a little bit. And if Indiana can play some defense, get them down, make them force up bad shots or rush something that they don't want to put up, that's good news for Indiana, because what that can do is get that transition game going that you were talking about.
Yeah, and Mac, here the other interesting thing, and this comes from Hembo via ESPN. Oklahoma City at home is a plus 236. Oklahoma City on the road is a minus 48, which leads a lot of why they haven't been able to cover a spread as a road favorite, 0-7 here. It's hard for me to jump, Mac, and go, I'm all over the Pacers tonight, and this thing screams this is a Pacers victory, because I'm not going to slight Oklahoma City. And you made the comment in your video this morning that you think that Oklahoma City has dominated the first 2 games, and I didn't necessarily agree with you. That disparity home to road, I'm very interested to see how Oklahoma City handles the crowd tonight, especially early, because this is still a relatively young team.
They are, but I mean, I also know that I feel defense travels. And that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And defense travels on the road. You don't have, I mean, if there's one thing, yeah, you may have a little bit of off shooting, but defense definitely travels. They're holding Indiana to about 8 shots less, 8 2-pointers in front of the arc, about 8 shots per game less than what they normally shoot. And that's quite a bit. And they're shooting about 4% less. I mean, again, those are the things that I look at that aren't going to change. Also, the other thing is Indiana's taking more 3-pointers. This goes to what you were talking about, Mike, with the way Oklahoma City plays defense. Where do they make you start your offense? Way out top. What happens when you drive? They clog that middle and whatnot. And so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If Indiana can go and shoot lights out, yeah, they're going to have a little bit of an advantage. But listen, for the most part, Oklahoma City, if you take every mark, if you use every quarter as a marker, I mean, Oklahoma City's just about dominated this series. What makes you think that they're not going to dominate tonight? Because it's been their defense. It's not necessarily their offense that's what's driving them.
Yeah, and I think the thing that, again, it's just body of work and what I've seen with Oklahoma City in the postseason on the road. I mean, they outside of that ridiculous comeback against Memphis, but Memphis was Memphis, and Oklahoma City did what they had to do. They shouldn't have been in the hole in the first place, but outside, I mean, when they got back to Minneapolis in game 3 there, I mean, they got blasted in that game. And this Pacers team to me is way better than that Minnesota team. I'm going to start as we go around with our X factors before we make our picks in this game. And I think especially, and I've talked about this multiple times over the course of us breaking down the series, but I think especially at home, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, those are my X factors tonight. If those guys are so beloved by that Indiana crowd that I think when those guys get into the game and they make plays, the crowd eats that up. I mean, especially TJ McConnell. How can you not like the way the dude plays? And I might maybe get to him a little bit later when we go to Liquid Locks. Who knows? But I think those 3 guys for the Pacers are my X factor tonight. Toppin, McConnell, and Mathurin. If those guys can make contributions off the bench, I think Obi Toppin is the biggest matchup problem for the Thunder here. Those are my X factors. TJ, X factors for tonight's game.
For the Pacers, it's Pascal Siakam for me. He's the one with title experience. So he's the one who, when this game gets to a point where, BHs start puckering on either side of the floor, he's the guy who they're going to look to calm the situation down and and just mellow everybody out. So I'm looking at Pascal on the Pacers.
X factor, Mac.
Listen, I'm going right to the star. Halliburton, here's the deal. When he scores 20 plus points or more, they're 7-1. When he shoots 15 or more shots, they're 8-1. Listen, you got to have the engine to run this whole train. If the engine isn't running, the train's falling off the tracks. He's got to step up. He hasn't done it. He's got to step up. He's got to be a star. He's got to lead this team. If not, I don't care what the other guys do. Oklahoma City's going to shut them down. Your star needs to be your star.
There you go, from Coach Mac right there. Feel free to comment along on your X factors for tonight's game, your picks for tonight's game. As we start our picks, I will start, and I'm going with the Pacers on the money line tonight. I'm 1,000% believer in the home crowd advantage for Indiana, and I think Hallie, because he's hurted, he's back at home where he does play a lot better. I'm going to drop the stones on the table here. I got the Pacers money line and Tyrese Halliburton for a triple-double. TJ.
I'm taking the points with the Pacers tonight. I think that 5.5 is too much. I'm not saying that the Pacers are going to win, but I think 5.5 is too much.
Is the C on your shirt, Vegas Mac, for contrarian here? Or are you going to go opposite of me and TJ?
Yeah, I like OKC tonight. I just think they've been the better team in the series. That's all there is to it. I got OKC tonight. Plus or minus, I don't care what. They're winning.
Well, you ain't getting plus, homie. You got to be minus 5.5 for the money line there. If you find him plus somewhere, I want to know Guido's name and where he parks his Oldsmobile. All right. I'm going to play a little game with you guys before we transition into the slaughter in Sunrise from the other nights. Little rapid fire, and I'm going to entitle this, Would You Bet Your Life on It? Couple of different things going on, and I catered these specifically to the two of you, so they should be in your wheelhouse. We're going to start with Vegas Mac. The U.S. Open begins at the ass crack of dawn on the West Coast tomorrow, 3 a.m. when the coverage starts. We've talked about the setup for Oakmont and how it is going to eat golf balls for lunch. It's like playing a course out here in Sun City. You can hit one right down the side of the fairway, never find it again for different reasons. Any player to finish all 4 rounds, any player in the field, completely bogey free, Mac, it is plus 90,000. So $10 bet on that would win you $9,000. Would you take the bet? Do you think somebody can take Oakmont bogey free?
No, not even close. It's not. I mean, from what I've seen so far, I mean, every person out there is going to have a stumble. The key is going to be how big is that stumble? Do you play a par into a bogey, or do you play a par into a double or triple bogey? But no one's going to come out of that with a clean card in 4 days. No way.
All right. TJ, the first one for you. Angels and the Athletics. 107 start on the West Coast here from the Big A, Mickey Mouse's Playhouse. You can have Mike Trout to hit a homer today at plus 270, or Nicholas Kurtz of the Athletics at plus 400.
Well, I would take Nick Kurtz today. That ball's gonna be flying out today. It's a day game. It's not terribly hot today, so that's always, when it's a day game, it's always a good time for the hitters. And Kyle Hendricks, he throws strikes, but usually when he throws strikes, they end up about 430 feet away from home plate. So I'm going to take Nick Kurtz tonight.
Stay tuned for the end of the show. We will have a dollar dinger pick for you in our Liquid Lock segment. All right, last one for you, Mac. Walker Buehler to have 6 strikeouts tonight, or Abraham Toro to have 2 total bases for your Boston Red Sox against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, I'm going to take Walker Buehler, and I'm going to tell you why. Both him and Giolito kind of, I mean, they basically came out and called themselves out. They said, we've signed contracts to play a pitch or kind of pitch for the Red Sox. And basically, we've been a big dog pile of crap so far this year. And Giolito went out yesterday and pitched really, really well. I think Buehler's going to do the same thing tonight. I'm taking Buehler on that. I know Toro's been good, but Giolito put the fire on Buehler tonight.
I like that. I do like that. Feel free to comment along. If you got a bet you love today, drop it in the comments. And who knows, the right people that push the buttons might put it on the screen. All right, TJ, this is the last one for you, and it's going to lead us right into the next subject that we will talk about here. Game number 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. Connor McDavid to have a hat trick is a plus 5,000. Edmonton is desperate. Is McJesus going to part the Bobrovsky seas in game 3?
I don't know if he's going to get 3, but I would definitely take him to get at least 3 points. They will, well, I'll keep it in my back pocket for right now about what I think they're going to do with McJesus.
All righty. Speaking of hockey, let's get into a couple of things. And before we talk about the slaughter in Sunrise, which is probably the only good way to describe game number 3, there's some news in other parts of the ice. The Knicks have not asked Pete DeBoer to be their head coach, as far as we know right now. Chris Kreider, it sounds like, and this is according to Frank Cervalli, and if you know Frank, he's usually dialed in when these things come about. Chris Kreider sounds like he is one skate in the pond in Anaheim here. An interesting move for the Rangers. interesting move for the Ducks in the new wave of the Ducks. And Teach, you and I were just a couple of months ago at that game with the Ducks and the Sharks. And, you know, despite the records and everything, and we talked about it when we did the Stanley Cup preview show, like the vibe in that building for two bad hockey teams was pretty incredible. Chris Kreider added to that mix there would be incredible. You know, I'll bounce through both of you here. Let's start with you, Teach. Chris Kreider to the Ducks. What do you think of it from both sides?
I'm interested to see what it's going to cost them, and I don't think it's going to cost them very much. But remember, Chris Kreider just scored 50 goals a few seasons ago for the Rangers. And the good news for Anaheim is with Quenneville behind the bench, they're going to try and get a veteran-laden team to help usher in these young kids like Lacombe, maybe get something more out of Zegras. So I like the move for Anaheim. Plus, I think this is Kreider's last year on his contract. So he's, or maybe he's got two, I don't remember, but he's not going to cost a whole lot out of the pocket. It's a good move for them to help develop that young talent.
Mac, what do you think? Kreider to the Ducks. Do you like the fit? Do you like the move for the Rangers? Again, this is not a done deal. It sounds like it is, according to Frank Cervalli. But what are your thoughts on the Rangers side of it and the Ducks side of it?
I mean, for the Rangers, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, with what they had last year, they didn't make the playoffs. So, you know, the thinking is if you're the Rangers, you've got to do something to turn that roster over and become a playoff team. And so, you know, if you can deal an older veteran player and maybe get some younger pieces for it, I'm all for it because, you know, the Rangers can't have another season, you know, like they did this last year. They've got to be better.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. You know, I think, again, it makes sense for both teams here, more so for Anaheim and the makeup of their team. Again, I was really impressed to see how fluid they played, and they did. They just looked like a team that's a couple of vets away from maybe being a little bit of a threat in the West. And speaking of the West here, before we get to the Stanley Cup Finals, we know there's going to be a lot of changes in Dallas. We've already seen one of them. It sounds like Robertson and Marchment are available for the right price, depending on who you talk to, but a little bit more movement early on Marchment. And Tej, you mentioned this a lot when we were talking about the Stars and the lack of the stars showing up when they needed them the most. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Ottinger gets the yank from Pete DeBoer, which got Pete DeBoer the yank, amongst other things. Marchment and Robertson are interesting here. I think that Dallas, at least from my thoughts in watching them, probably doesn't want to let go of Robertson yet. Marchment, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think Dallas knows that they have to make some kind of changes to get the job done because they've been at the doorstep multiple times and haven't been able to bust the door down.
Yeah, and it's got to be frustrating for them because they basically had 3 kicks at the can with this roster, and they haven't been able to push through. So I could see both Robertson and I mean I could see Marchment gathering a bunch of interest because he's got one year left on his contract. Robertson also has 1 year left, but he'll be an RFA. So that's actually really attractive for a team who has who needs like fixed costs here and can't go into a season with somebody needing a big payday. Somebody like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The New York Knicks and the Toronto Maple Leafs, the gift that keeps on giving. Mac, you've been really high on this Dallas team multiple times, despite what some of our followers accuse you of, especially going into the playoffs. You love this team going into the playoffs. How big of a move do the Stars need to make to bust that door down?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same thing. It's you get to a point where, like TJ said, you know, you get to a conference final 2-3 years in a row, and you don't win. You've got to make some changes, and those are the hard things to do. I mean, when you have a good team and you have guys that have been there for a while and have had success, you know, as a fan, you never want to see those guys go. You know, but as a general manager, again, you have to play that role and look at it and say, okay, if we're going to take that next step, What are the hard decisions that we need to make? And sometimes that's getting rid of some of your better players just to change things up a little bit. So they got to find, first off, they're going to have to find a coach because they're going to have to figure out what kind of style of hockey they're going to play and then kind of go from there. So, they're a little behind the 8 ball, especially at this time. I mean, they got to find a coach first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting thing, especially this late in the process, how they did it. And let's move forward here into what happened in Game 3. I think the phrase of "you can't out Florida" was probably the best way to describe what the hell happened. And Tej, I text you right before the game started, and I said, this game was extremely pivotal for Edmonton. Now everybody out there is going, well, no shit, Sherlock. It was Game 3 of a series, which is a pivotal game. But I really felt like we were going to see what Edmonton had in them for this series in that game. And to say I'm concerned doesn't do it justice. And when you have the 2 best players in the world on your team, you always have a shot. But I think the lasting image of this series is Jonah Gadjevich and that sick, twisted smile, bleeding with his tongue out, being moved off by a ref. I mean, that image right there could be the lasting image of this series to me, as far as we know it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Oilers, it was astonishing to see how they showed out on Monday night, because they didn't. They basically lost the plot from the beginning of the game, and it was literally over before it started. They were even when it got to be 2-1, you never felt like they were anywhere close. And then 2 goals in 4 minutes, and Max your uncle and Fanny's your wife, and that's the end of the game. So but yes, you have, this team has expectations of 97 and 29. Are they unreasonable? I don't think so. They're the 2 best players on the planet, and they're playing for the same team. It was a pivotal game, because if they had gone out and lost, say, 4-3 in overtime, the conversation that we're having today is completely different, because we're looking at it going, you know what? They played hard. It was close. Skinner made some saves. They went to overtime. They lost it, and there you go. But the way that they lost causes me tremendous concern if I'm an Oilers fan, because they didn't even look like they belonged on the same sheet of ice.
No, not even close, Mac. I mean, the out Florida, and we've talked about this multiple times. I mean, the Panthers are bullies. That's what they are. And when you see these, I mean, Edmonton has spent, I've felt, Mac, like the better part of the last regulation periods I'm talking about, the better part of the last 3 periods I've seen is just been Edmonton trying to bait Florida into being physical, and Florida's literally laughing in their face.
So my first point is this. I'm just going to flat out say it. The Florida Panthers have probably the best coach in the NHL, and they've been out-coached. Whether this is what, I mean, think about it. All that Edmonton's had to deal with the last couple of days is questions about this. I'd stop answering the damn questions. I mean, we've all been there from a coaching standpoint and from a playing standpoint. We've all had that game where we've just completely lost it. Okay? The best thing to do is flush it. But Edmonton keeps talking about it.
I never completely lost it as a coach. Never in my life.
But TJ, I have a question for you, because I don't know if it works for hockey, but in football, you always talk about this. You always say, if you have 2 quarterbacks, how many quarterbacks do you have?
0. You have 0.
Edmonton, all of a sudden now, do we change quarterbacks? See, they're in the coach's head. So if you have 2 goalies, TJ, how many do you have?
In Edmonton, you have none. It's
so this again. I think this goes to a bigger problem. I think right now, I mean, Edmonton lost it on the ice. I think they've lost it behind the bench as well. I think Florida's completely gotten into the DNA of Edmonton. The series is over, guys. Florida's going to win this thing.
You know, I don't think they make a move. I don't think they pull Skinner here. What I am concerned about is you saw it a lot in Game 3. You saw exactly where Florida was attacking Skinner. And they made it very clear they were going to go high. They were going to go high short side. They were going to go high on the glove on the opposite side. They're going to go high. And they were successful at it. I don't think at this point Knobloch makes the switch. And I don't really think you can. I really don't.
No, I mean, I don't. I agree with you. I'm like, you go to the dance with the partner that got you there. And they had a really good breakdown in between one of the periods and talking about Skinner, how he struggles with when that puck is up at the point, finding that whoever that skater is on that far post. And that's one of the things that Florida is doing is making that pass. That he struggles with that. And you saw even in that first goal, it was a little bit of a scramble, but good golly, he wasn't anywhere near the paint. He was 3 or 4 feet outside the paint. It just, again, that the goalies need to have that presence. He's kind of lost that presence just a little bit.
Good golly. Yeah, he played like Miss Molly Teej in Game 3.
I don't want to throw – I'm not ready to throw dirt on the Oilers just yet. And Stuart Skinner's 26 years old. Mm-hmm. We've seen in many cases that it takes time for a goalie to get – I mean, Darcy Kemper didn't become a fantastic goalie until his 30s. And he goes and wins a cup, and he was on a playoff team this year. It's going to take time for Skinner. This is only really his third or fourth rodeo here. But the one thing that Skinner consistently, if you get him dancing around in the crease, he's done. He cannot, like you said, Mac, he can't get back to where he needs to be. And so the Oilers defense needs to give him, they need to clear traffic out, and they need to give him a clear lane to see what's going on. Otherwise he's sunk. I mean, the Panthers, and what do the Panthers do? They clog the middle. They love to get in your face like that. Now that being said, the Oilers, since the 24 playoffs started, are 18-2 in games 4 through 7 in a playoff series. So they are getting to the point where they are almost unbeatable. One of those losses was game 7 last year, but first off, I don't think they're pulling Skinner. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think you're going to see some changes on defense from Knobloch. I think you're going to see Troy Stecher in there again. I think he was great with Nurse in the second round, and I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to come back tomorrow.
Is this a must-win game for Edmonton? I'm throwing it out there. Is this a must-win?
You know, I fucking hate that term.
I know. That's why I'm asking you.
I don't think so, because, you know, you've got, again, the two best players in the world on the same team. And Tej, you've said this multiple times about Edmonton, how well they play from this game on in any series against anybody. What I am going to say is I think the first 10 minutes of this game is going to tell us how Edmonton's going to respond. And again, we know from the Dallas series in the Western Conference Finals, everybody's seen the picture by now. I talked about the picture of Gadjevich, you know, his sick, twisted, like, I want to put that on a damn shirt. That was an incredible image. The other incredible image of this postseason, and the lasting image of this postseason, was the Game 1 loss to Dallas when Draisaitl, Canada Dry, Smysaitl, that Sam Bennett's trying to steal from him, when McDavid and Draisaitl were sitting on the bench after that game, and they just kind of gave each other the look like it happened again the other night. It's like these two have this, they're as sick and twisted as the entire Panthers team. So no, I'm not going to call it a must win, because I hate that damn term. And two, I don't think when you have the best two players on the planet that you're ever out anything. I am gravely concerned with what I saw in game 3, because hopefully the extra day off is enough time for Edmonton to go, okay, we tried it this way. Now we know we can't do it that way. Let's go back to doing it our way, Teach.
Well, they can't do it that way. And I don't even think Zach Hyman would have helped them with that. I mean, he's leads the postseason for the Oilers in hits, but no, you can't play. The Oilers are successful when they get the puck north, and then when they get it moving around. You saw it in game 2 on that when McDavid dangled Barkov, and oh my gosh, that was awesome. But all 5 players touched the puck before Draisaitl scored. All 5 of them. That's when Edmonton is successful, moving the puck around, getting everybody involved. If they can't do that, and Florida makes it very difficult, if they can't do that, they're sunk. The first 10 minutes is going to be very critical, because if you don't see the Oilers respond appropriately in the first 10 minutes, Knobloch's going to put 97 and 29 on the same line for the rest of the game and double shift them where necessary, and that's going to tire those guys out.
All right, Tej has got the preview video and the prediction tomorrow, Max. So that leaves you and I to make some guesses here on what we think is going to happen in game number 4. I am going to take Edmonton, as much as it concerns me, to bounce back in this game and get the win. And I think a guy we talked about from early in the series, Mac, how well he played, did not play good, but nobody played good for Edmonton in game 3. I'm going to take Evander Kane to score a goal in game 4 and the Oilers to win.
One of the things that I looked at in this last game was Draisaitl. He had no shots on goal in game 3. If you think about last year, he didn't score in the finals. And so my bet for this is going to be, I'm going to take Draisaitl. He's going to get 3 or more shots on goal for Edmonton. I like this game to go under 6.5 goals. But I like Florida in this game. I think Florida takes a stranglehold of the series.
All right. Feel free to comment along at Mike Arana Show on all of our social channels. Let's talk a little Major League Baseball here. I saw something last night, guys, I've never seen in my life. The Padres were absolutely whacking the Dodgers last night. Sauer goes for 111 pitches. He was I guess we're calling it the heavy guy now, the bulk guy, whatever.
Bulk
the
guy.
Stupid shit. That should be just outlined in baseball, period. So they bring in Kike Hernandez in the 6th inning to pitch with 2 outs. Sauer went 4 2/3, 111 pitches. The Padres blasted the Dodgers last night. I haven't seen that ever. I mean, even Mud Grant and Don Orsillo on the call last night, I was watching the Padres feed of the game. They said the same thing. Like, you're bringing in a position player in the 6th. And I mentioned it last night in my baseball video, man. The Dodgers have proven to us more than any team has ever proven to us in Major League Baseball history. You can never quite have enough pitching, because when you've got a 9-man rotation and 8 of them have spent time on the injured list this year, and one of the guys you're counting on to pitch, now we're hearing Shohei could pitch possibly before the All-Star break. I think this trade deadline this year in baseball is going to be absolute insanity. We have 12 teams between the National League and the American League that are within 5.5 games of a wild card spot right now. And a lot of those teams that are in that mix are teams that we projected at the beginning of the season to be sellers. Initial thoughts on the trade deadline. I'll start in the middle, Mac.
Yeah, there's a few teams that are going to be very, very active. I don't know if it's going to be as active as you think. Because I'm looking at, to me, there's only like 4 or 5 teams that I really think are going to make some moves. A lot of those teams that are out of it don't have a lot of pieces. And that's what I was kind of looking at. Even a team like the White Sox, there's not a whole lot there on the White Sox that you'd want. And that's what you kind of look at. Like, the teams that are out of it, what do they have to offer you? And there's not a lot out there. So I don't know how active it's going to be this year.
Tej, what do you think?
I thought the Dodgers already signed every single pitcher in the offseason. Holy smokes. And now they can't, and they couldn't put it together enough, and they had to have Kike throw. That was weird. But I agree with you, Mac. There are a lot of teams that there's a lot of teams that don't have a lot of parts. There's also a lot of teams who have kind of delusions of grandeur here with their roster. One of them I'll speak of soon, but yeah, I don't know if it's going to be as active. And I think the Dodgers are going to make the biggest splash. They will go and get whoever they need to and pay for it later, much later.
Guys, I need your help here. The San Francisco Giants. And you know what I think of the Giants and their prospectus, if you will. They're in action here this evening at Colorado at Coors Canaveral. Robbie Ray and Kyle Freeland tonight in that matchup. The Giants have won 6 straight one-run games. That's tied for second in Major League Baseball history. They've won 8 straight, or they've played 8 straight one-run games. That's the longest streak since the 2014 San Francisco Giants played in 8 straight one-run games. The longest streak of all time is Atlanta in 1988 in 9 straight one-run games. I know the Giants' bullpen is at a ridiculously elite level right now, and that has a lot to do with why the Giants are doing what they're doing. But can somebody please tell me if I should actually believe in my team or if I'm watching smoke and mirrors? But whichever one of the two of you wants to start this one. I mean, I don't know what to make of this team because I don't think they're very good. But look at where they stand in the West. Look at where they're at over 500. And they've won 6 straight one-run games. I don't know what the hell to think when I watch the Giants play.
I think one of the things you talked about is the stretch of games that they have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I would give it to post 4th of July. I'm kind of with you on that. I'm not real sure. Their pitching has been okay. I mean, I saw Adames hit a home run the other day. I mean, they haven't gotten anything out of him. I mean, if he starts to come around, it's a different story. I would use like post 4th of July. If they're still around through these next 3-4 weeks, then I would say, yeah, I would start to believe in them. But I would give them a few more. I think they're like water on the stove. They're starting to boil, but we got to wait a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, Tej, the funny thing is it's like Willie Adames' struggles. Hey, yeah, you know what? Take about 12 to 15 at bats in Coors Field and then check in with me on Friday. I mean, he's at Coors Field last night. He hit a homer.
Right.
Tej, I don't know. What do you think of this Giants team?
They're kind of a mixed bag for me right now, too. I don't know what to think. I mean, the stats don't lie. So we have that going for us if you're a Giants faithful. But, it's one of those things where I think it's still a little bit early. There's 100 games left, give or take. I would like to see a little more out of this team. I'm going to wait until about All-Star and make my assessment of them. But, I mean, you can't argue with how they're playing. And the stats speak for themselves. The bullpen has been unreal. And that's going to be a huge strength if this continues for the Giants.
All right. We'll go around the horn here. Yeah, a baseball pun. Mac, I'll start with you. Biggest surprise so far in the early season?
Atlanta Braves. I just can't even figure it out. 10 games under 500, 14 and a half out of the East. They're almost 10 games out of the wild card. They just can't seem to get it going. I don't understand even with injuries aside, this is not the Atlanta Braves team that I thought. And I keep thinking that they're going to hit the switch. The switch is broken.
Mm-hmm.
They can't find the switch right now. Biggest eye-opening thing to you before me, and then we'll talk about some buyers and sellers.
The Tampa Bay Rays. It's unreal how this team sells players, gets people off the scrap heap, and they just keep winning. I mean, they're only 5 games out. They have to deal with that disaster of a yard and that situation. But the players are just, okay, well, we just took 2 out of 3 again. So what do you want from us now? And they're just hanging around just like they usually do. So interested to see what happens with them.
The biggest thing for me, guys, that is not being talked about, or biggest surprise, if you will, Why is nobody talking about Aaron Judge and what he's doing? Entering last night at home, and everybody talks about the short porch at Yankee Stadium and all of that. The Yankees Red Sox fans going back and forth on the pesky pole in Yankee Stadium. It's some of the more enjoyable shit I've seen on X in a long time. But entering last night at home, Aaron Judge at 1264 OPS, 22 walks, 93 total bases. On the road, 1264 OPS, 22 walks, 92 total bases. Why does he suck on the road? Last night, he goes 2 for 5 with a homer, a run, and 3 RBIs in their 10-2 win at Kansas City. I have a friend who's a season ticket holder in Kansas City. He sits in left field. Judge hit that ball last night, 469 feet. It went over the Royals Hall of Fame. It literally went over his head. He goes, dude, I have never seen anybody hit a ball over that. And the sound it made when it was going over my head sounded like a jet engine, like an absolute missile here. Why, at this point in the season, with a guy who's hitting 396 with those numbers dead equal at home and the road, why are we not talking about what this guy is doing? Because it is one of the more historical things we have ever seen at the plate from any hitter in the history of baseball. A lot of baseball left, but Mac, I don't understand why this isn't getting more talk.
I mean, Aaron Judge is, it's kind of weird to say this, he's boring compared to what's out there. Listen, we had a chance. I think I've told this before. We got a chance to meet him in the Arizona Fall League. Nicest guy in the world. Great to the boys. Gave him all kinds of stuff. I mean, he really is. And I kind of joked with him. I'm like, at the time, I'm like, hey, do me a favor. Just don't destroy the Red Sox for the next, 20 years. It was kind of one of the things. But I mean, listen, he's not flashy. He's not. He goes up there. He's quiet. There's no controversy around him. He just mashes the ball wherever he goes. And so it's just one of those things. And the Yankees are kind of, quietly running away with the East. There's no controversy with the Yankees. Think about it. We're not even talking about the Yankees who are having a great year. It's kind of weird. It just, it's funny to say the Yankees are a boring team. There's just not they're good ball players. They go out, they win games. There's no controversy there, except for maybe Jazz, and they just win. And Aaron Judge is the leader of that. He's a great baseball player. Yeah, we should be talking more about him, but he's just kind of boring.
Tej?
Who are we talking about again?
All rise.
I think it's just because of everything that we've seen from Aaron Judge in the past that this is just like, oh, okay, no big deal. Like Max said, it's blasé at this point. We've seen stuff. We've seen him perform at a high level for so long that we just expect it. But as we get into July and August, if he's still close to 400, we'll start talking about it then, because that's going to be a big deal.
All right, let's go buyers and sellers here. Let's start with the buyers. Again, we're 50 days away from the trade deadline at the end of July here. And I think the crowded pack, if you will, is going to dictate a lot of this. There's teams in here that we thought would automatically be sellers when we went in. In a couple of weeks, we'll refresh our pop the graphic on the screen of our initial season picks. We're taking a couple of those in the shorts here. But I'm going to start with my buyer. And I think it's absolutely, without a doubt, a team that neither one of you two believed in like I did in the beginning of the year. Yeah, I'm throwing you under the bus here. The Chicago Cubs, who I think are going to run away with the Central. And I think the Cubs are going to absolutely be buyers here. The question with the Cubs is they don't have a ton, I don't think, to offer. And I think that's going to crowd the space, because with the Dodgers, Mets, and Cubs all battling for that top spot, the Cubs lead baseball in run differential. So this team doesn't really need anything from an offensive standpoint. With the injury to Justin Steele, obviously they're going to try and go after pitchers, but how many pitchers are going to be available? And some of the names that are available, like Alcantara, is going to be the biggest one out of Miami if he moves, but what do the Cubs have to offer in that point? I don't know how they're going to do it. obviously the Kyle Tucker thing at the end of the year is going to be a big deal. And, that'll, I'm sure, go smoothly, especially with his agent. But my biggest buyer, Mac, is the Chicago Cubs. What's yours?
Detroit Tigers. Scott Harris is going to do what he can to improve that team. Probably go and get a couple of veterans here and there, maybe another arm, work on that bullpen even more. The Detroit Tigers have had a great season. They're heading in the right direction. They're just going to, and they have a great farm system as well. They're just going to tweak what they have, and they're going to be a tough out come October.
DJ, buyer.
I'm going off the board here. I'm taking the Diamondbacks. This team's offense this team has enough offense to outscore any team, but man, have they had just the crappiest luck with their pitching. And I see them as a team, although they're 5.5 out of the wild card right now. When I watch this team, I feel like they're really close if they can just get a couple of arms.
When I look at this from a seller standpoint, you kind of go off the board there with the Diamondbacks as buyers. I'm going to go a little bit off the board, if you will, on my seller. And I think that's going to be the Seattle Mariners. And, wow, they're 3 games back in the wild card. Mm-hmm. I don't mean they're going to have a fire sale and just give up on it. But I think the Mariners are at the point now where they realize, hey, what we have is good enough to keep us in it. But we're missing something. And I think Seattle might shock us here, as much as it sounds crazy. And one of those arms is going to be on the move to help them improve what I think their biggest need is. And that's getting another bat in there. I mean, we've played the same game over and over and over and over again, and it hasn't gotten you anything. Now it's time to shift something. So I think the Mariners are going to be a seller, not in a fire sale standpoint, but in a, we have to give something to get something. Mac, seller.
Man, this hurts. I think in the next couple of weeks, the Red Sox are going to have to make a decision. They have a lot of young talent. We know that. They have some veterans that can be difference makers. I just talked about the Detroit Tigers. You want an arm at the end of the game who's been fantastic this year. Aroldis Chapman has turned the clock back. He's been absolutely fantastic. If the Red Sox are going to dump it, they're going to use their big 3 or 4. That means they have an expendable outfielder. It could be Abreu. It could be Duran. Both of those guys would get good prospects back. You have Buehler, you have Giolito, you have Rob Refsnyder, who just destroys left-handed pitching. So the Red Sox have, and also Hendricks. So the Red Sox have a lot of those veteran players that teams like Detroit, a team like San Diego could use if they're looking to make that push. And the Red Sox could be in a position to kind of really restock that farm system. Again, I'm not waving the flag yet, but they're kind of getting close.
DJ, seller.
Baltimore Orioles. I don't think this. I think that they may have peaked too soon, and they have several players who have expiring contracts, like Eflin, like O'Hearn, like Mullins, that could probably fetch them some prospects. They've also got a bunch of players who have arb rights next year and who are going to be looking for raises, like Mountcastle and Rutschman. So, I think the Orioles might have peaked with those City Connect unis, and they may be on the downsides. So crack open your Natty Bows and enjoy the sale, folks.
Feel free to comment along. Again, follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show. So we wind this one down here. We've got some liquid locks. We'll explain that. Best Bets has been retired. It's been put out to pasture. We'll explain that change. All right, guys, U.S. Open gets going tomorrow morning. Mike versus Mac picks. And those of you that are new to us, the way we do Mike versus Mac is we've broken the season into stages, and you can only use a guy once per stage. This is our longest stage. So our picks are coming up later today on who me and Mac are going with, our 3 golfers for the U.S. Open. So on Monday, I said I was big on Keegan Bradley. And I felt the course and his experience. It's a good match here. His number was high value. Let's go around the horn here. I'm going to give you guys each $20 to pick anybody, no restrictions, to win the U.S. Open. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to double down on the Keegan Bradley thing. I'm actually going to bet on Keegan Bradley to be the first round leader after tomorrow's first round at a plus 6,000. And another guy that I really like that I think can win this tournament because he's shown up where the lights have been brightest every time this year. And I can't use him in Mike versus Mac, but I have a bet on him to win the U.S. Open is Sepp Straka. So Mac, I'm giving you $20. You can pick anybody in the field. Who do you take in the U.S. Open?
I was going to go with one of my picks, but I'm going to kind of stray from that. U.S. Open, in order to win, you have to kind of block everything out, and you've got to kind of be kind of deadline. Like, you can't let anything affect you. And who does that sound like? Patrick Cantlay. I mean,
God, you're going to go on that ride?
I'm going to go on that ride. I mean, he honestly, nothing seems like it ever affects him. And so if there's a guy that I got to, I mean, there's no highs and lows with this dude, but I mean, he's a really good golfer. That would be my pick, because I'm going to stay away from my winners, my real winners with, our little contest.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss Mike versus Mac this week. Mac went into his bag of idiocy again. TJ, your pick for the U.S. Open. You cannot pick Shooter McGavin. You cannot pick Happy Gilmore. Who are you laying my $20
on? The new head coach of the New York Knicks. That's who I'm picking. I'm going with Bryson. I think he's going to come through this weekend, and for no other reason than I just think he's due.
He's due to go back to back in the Open. It's going to be interesting. The course layout, some changes. Everybody's like, oh, the rough. Well, the rough doesn't really matter if you hit it 395 yards down the damn fairway. So, all right, let's get into this here as we wrap it up. We have retired best bets. We felt that it wasn't really doing justice. However,
they weren't the best.
It's still here. Mac can still be Mac. We've just changed the name of the segment to Liquid Locks because our locks are as solid as water here. So, and there's baseball all day long here. Games going on as we speak. So we're going to give you a couple here. Let's go to the Liquid Locks first, guys. My liquid lock for tonight is Game 3 of the NBA Finals. And I'm going to go with Isaiah Joe over 2.5 points and TJ McConnell over 6.5 points, boosted to 243. I say, well, that's a risky one. Here's the thing. Isaiah Joe and TJ McConnell, they get minutes. And if this game turns into a blowout, they're also going to get minutes captaining the reserves in there. And I think those numbers for two guys that play significant roles on these teams are very important. And again, from step one of this series, I've talked about role players and their importance. So that's my liquid lock of the day. McConnell over 6.5 and Joe over 2.5. TJ, your liquid lock.
I didn't get too risky today. I'm going to Coors Canaveral, and I'm taking the over in the Giants-Rockies game, over 10.5, with Kyle let me throw a strike, and it should run Freeland, dishing up meatballs tonight. I have a feeling that this will be clinched very early, and then I will be able to root on TJ and Joe for you.
There we go. Mac, give us your liquid lock of the night.
All right. Well, my liquid locks. You said locks, right? Liquid locks.
Yeah, you have none.
Working on my liquid locks here. Here we go.
Great.
I got two for you. Number one, we're going to go with Robbie Ray. Under 7.5 strikeouts tonight. Under 7.5 strikeouts. Playing at Coors, you don't get a lot of strikeouts there. I like that number. But listen, I am all in.
Oh, God.
I am all in on the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire tonight
Drinking
will
the
strike.
Kool-Aid.
He's going up against Zach Eflin. This dude's given up 16 home runs this year. The Roman Empire has arrived, and he will hit his first home run tonight. That's, ladies and gentlemen, my liquid locks.
We need to.
Good Lord, Caesar.
We need the drug test on this show. I really think we do. Roman Anthony is not hitting a home run before Jack Caglione. Speaking of home runs, dollar dingers. We've only done it once this year. It'll obviously be prominent is the word. You threw me off on the Roman Empire. Prominent throughout the summer here. So let's go around the horn here, and I'm going to actually bet this while we are on the air. So TJ, give me a home run hitter for the evening.
I'm going to steal Mac's other guy, and I'm going with Cedar Rafaela.
Vegas Mac, give me a home run hitter.
Well, I would like to say Roman Anthony, but I'm going to go with my other guy. I'm going to go with the polar bear tonight, Pete Alonso.
My guy.
Pete Alonso working hard on that MVP prediction for
on
Vegas
his way,
Mac.
baby.
I am going to go to one of my favorite rivalries, non-rivalries, if you will. It depends on who you talk to right now. But Dodgers and Padres, which is coming up here very, very shortly. I am going to go with Fernando Tatis to get a home run against the Dodgers today. And where the hell is Pete Alonso, people? All right, here we go. Dollar dingers for all three guys to hit a homer tonight. Plus 140, 150. Your dollar will get you $142.50. A lot going on in the sports world. We are off for the rest of this week, but starting next week, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this same bat time, this same bat channel, we will be here with you. Follow along at Mike Arana Show on all of our social channels. TJ will have the preview and prediction for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow. I will have a recap of what we see from the field house tonight. Again, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the rest of the summer, give or take, will be where we're at. So for everybody behind the scenes, for TJ, for Vegas Mac, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. We're out.